Date 4. I suspected my wife was planning a divorce, so I moved my assets. 2 weeks later, she filed, but I decided to call one of our mutual friends, Lisa. She and my wife had been close for years, so if anyone knew what was going on, it would be her. I kept the conversation casual at first, just asking if she'd talked to my wife recently or if anything seemed off. Lisa responded quickly, saying she didn't know anything about a friend or any advice. I asked a few more questions, trying to probe gently, but she shut down the conversation defensively, saying she really couldn't help me. The whole thing felt rushed, like she was trying to avoid getting involved. Not ready to give up, I called another friend, Emily. I went through the same routine, explaining that I was just trying to make sense of everything. At first, she seemed hesitant, dodging my questions with vague answers. When I pressed her a bit more, she ended the call abruptly, leaving me more suspicious than ever. I sat there, frustrated, trying to figure out what my next move should be. Then, to my surprise, Emily called me back. She told me she needed to make sure whatever she said wouldn't get back to my wife. I promised it wouldn't, and after a long pause, she finally told me what she knew. Apparently, my wife had been spending a lot of time with someone named Jake, someone she'd met through work. Emily said she didn't know much else, but from what she'd heard, Jake was deeply involved in the advice my wife was getting about the divorce. Hearing that name felt like a piece of the puzzle clicking into place. Now it was clear, this wasn't just about her needing space or finding herself. Someone else was in the picture, steering her decisions, and I was determined to find out why. I decided to confront it in my own way. That weekend, I drove to her apartment building and parked a block away, hoping to confirm what I already knew. Sure enough, a couple of hours later, she walked out of the building with Jake. They didn't hold hands or anything, but the way they walked together, close, leaning in to talk, was enough. They got into his car and drove off, leaving me sitting there staring at the space where they'd been. I didn't follow them. I didn't need to. At that moment, it was clear, she hadn't just fallen out of love with me. She'd been planning her exit with someone else. And now it all made sense. The sudden distance, the financial questions, the aggressive demands in the divorce papers. She wasn't just leaving me, she was leaving me with nothing, and she had someone backing her every step of the way. I went home that night, my mind spinning with everything I'd learned. The betrayal stung, but what hurt more was how calculated it all was. She was using the divorce as a stepping stone for whatever life she was building with Jake, but she had no idea what I'd prepared for her. The first mediation session was tense from the moment we walked in. Her lawyer showed up with a folder so thick it looked like they were filing a lawsuit against a Fortune 500 company. He started going through her demands like they were completely reasonable. Half the house, the savings, my investments, the car, even some additional nonsense about spousal support. I stayed quiet, pretending to listen, but I was waiting for my lawyer to make his move. When it was finally our turn, he calmly slid a stack of documents across the table and said, "Before we proceed, I think it's important for everyone to review these." Her lawyer picked up the papers, skimming through them. His confident demeanor shifted quickly as he flipped the pages, his brows furrowing deeper with each one. "What is this?" he asked, looking up. "These documents show the transfer of all major assets into a trust under my client's mother's name," my lawyer explained, his voice steady. "The transfers were completed several weeks before the divorce filing, and the trust is fully legal and irrevocable." The room went completely silent. Her lawyer turned to her, his confusion now mixed with frustration. "You didn't mention this," he said flatly. She snatched the papers from his hands and flipped through them, her face turning red. "This can't be real," she muttered, staring at the notarized signatures and dates. Then she turned to me, her expression shifting from disbelief to fury. "You planned this?" she hissed, glaring at me like I'd committed some unforgivable crime. "You knew I was going to file, and you set this up to screw me over." I didn't respond. I just sat there, letting her connect the dots on her own. Her lawyer, now visibly annoyed, asked my lawyer to explain further. So he did, calmly, methodically, and with every piece of proof needed to make the transfers ironclad. The dates lined up perfectly, showing I'd moved everything well before she filed. The signatures were properly notarized, and the trust was airtight. There was nothing they could do to contest it. She was livid. "You were unbelievable," she snapped, leaning forward in her chair. "I can't believe you'd do something like this to me." I still didn't say a word. What was there to say? This wasn't about me doing something to her. This was about protecting myself because she'd made it clear she wasn't leaving quietly. The meeting ended with her lawyer muttering something about needing to reassess their approach, but it was obvious to everyone in the room that they had no moves left to make. When we walked out of the building, she pulled me aside in the hallway, her face a mix of anger and desperation. "This isn't over," she said, her voice low. "You are going to regret this." I just looked at her and said, "I already regret trusting you. That's the only regret I have." After that mediation session, things spiraled faster than I expected. She went into full meltdown mode almost immediately. It started with the calls, endless calls. At first, she sounded calm, even apologetic, leaving voicemails that started with, "I think we just need to talk." Or, "I know this got messy, but we can fix it." When I didn't respond, the tone shifted. By the second day, her messages were bouncing between sobbing and screaming. One voicemail would be her crying about how she made a mistake and didn't want to lose everything we built together. The next would be an angry tirade accusing me of being stingy and vindictive, blaming me for everything going wrong in her life. I ignored it all. My lawyer had advised me not to engage, and honestly, I didn't want to. I was done playing her games. But she wasn't done.